Tonight, 7 new COVID cases recorded in South Australia as authorities warn we're not out of the woods yet. And the new regulations leave a South Australian family stuck in Broken Hill.
From our 7 Spencer Golf Studios, your nightly news with John Hunt begins now.
Good evening. South Australia has today endured day 1 of the 7-day lockdown. There were some early positive signs this morning, with just 1 new COVID case recorded overnight. However, late this afternoon, the situation took a turn for the worst, with an extra 6 cases reported.
Thanking South Australians for doing the right thing.
The early signs of compliance are extraordinarily good, so thank you very much.
The daily update bringing some early glimmers of hope, with only 1 new case overnight, a woman in her 20s.
She is a staff member at the Greek on Halifax and was working on that Saturday night.
South Australians also warned of how quickly an outbreak can grow, with the Premier pointing to the deteriorating situation interstate. New South Wales recording 110 new cases overnight, Victoria 22.
We're up to 52 exposure sites in South Australia. My strong message to every South Australian is please check the SA Health website.
Premier Stephen Marshall today announcing the state government will expand financial support statewide, also providing a $100 million support package for small and medium businesses. Eligible individuals will have access to income support payments of up to $600 per week, with $3,000 grants available for businesses suffering significant loss of income or have been forced to close.
So country people will also enjoy the same benefits that the people in the hotspot declaration will be enjoying.
Labor leader Peter Malinauskas pleased with the announcement.
It would have been patently absurd if we had a situation where people in the city were getting access to financial support, but people in the country weren't, despite the fact, of course, this is a lockdown that affects the whole state.
The member for Grey expecting nothing less from the state government.
We are talking a period now of less than 24 hours since we went to the state lockdown. I'm not surprised it takes just a little while to get the information out there. But by and large, we've shown a great determination not to leave anyone behind.
The state also seeing its highest record of vaccinations yesterday. Those eligible urged to roll up their sleeves.
We need to get as many people vaccinated as possible.
We have got 1 shot to nip this in the bud, 1 shot to stop the coronavirus cluster here in South Australia dead in its tracks.
Katrina Musson, 7 Spencer Golf News.
The first day of South Australia's statewide lockdown has seen the majority of businesses shut their doors. Cafes and restaurants resorting to takeaway or delivery service for customers in a bid to keep trading.
Streets were empty and businesses closed. Port Lincoln residents and businesses adhering to the state government's stay-at-home calls.
Significant impact. As with all the lockdowns, the businesses are really wearing the brunt of that as well.
The city's businesses that are able to stay open are just trying to survive.
I think a lot of businesses are going to, go downhill from this, so I'm hoping it's not going to be too long.
Many restaurants, cafes and pubs turning to takeaway and delivery only options to generate cash flow over the lockdown.
I think with businesses, they have been incredible in the way they have innovated and adapted and worked through it.
Jack Ritchie from the Port Lincoln Chamber of Commerce believes the community will stick together and get each other through.
A great community here too that is doing the right thing. And that's going to be an advantage in making sure that we don't get spread as well.
The Treasurer coming out this morning and splashing the cash.
The Commissioner said you've had the optimist and the pragmatist. I think he said now you've got a miserable old Treasurer.
The new business support packages expected to assist an estimated 50,000 businesses across the state. Dylan Smith, 7 Spencer Golf News.
A young family is stranded in Broken Hill after being turned around at the SA border, despite having an approved permit. They're sharing their story in the hope the system will be changed, but they're not the only ones being left in limbo.
Looking forward to life in South Australia, but now stranded in New South Wales. This young family turned around at Oodlawira despite having approved entry permits.
6 degrees with a 3-year-old. We're travelling with 4 guinea pigs and a bird. Yeah, it was insane. They just did not care.
Nikita and her son Aaron are returning SA residents, her partner Jack relocating from Queensland.
We called the COVID hotline to double check. They sent us the information and said, you just need to pray on the good nature of the police that they're going to let you in because the legislation actually states that you're allowed in the state.
They're now stuck in Broken Hill, told they need an exemption from SA Health.
It's costing us money to stay here, and it's not a problem because I love Broken Hill, but
money we don't have.
It is money we don't have.
But they're not alone. Jeff Miller is trying to get to Esperance to be with his sister, who recently lost her husband. He's been waiting more than a week for an exemption.
I've been out at the racecourse here for 4 weeks and I've had no success whatsoever in getting passes through South Australia or WA.
SA Health says exemptions are required for anyone relocating or returning from New South Wales. Following our inquiries, SAPOL has confirmed its COVID team is looking into the matter.
Sit tight, I guess, and wait and hope that this has happened to enough people for them to do something about it.
A stressful situation during an event changing by the hour. Lachlan Itter, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Meanwhile, New South Wales has placed extra restrictions on travellers from South Australia. Anyone who's arrived from SA since the lockdown began must complete an entry declaration form and comply with that state's stay-at-home orders. We contacted New South Wales Health on whether Broken Hill residents are exempt from these rules, given the city's reliance on interstate services. No response was received by Deadline. Still to come tonight, we continue our lockdown coverage, with construction companies calling for a change in their status, and Wharffest, the latest event to be cancelled. Welcome back. Continuing with our lockdown coverage, and infrastructure projects in the Spencer Gulf are also on hold after being classed as non-essential. Many in the sector are concerned the shutdown will take a heavy toll on the industry.
Forced to lay down tools, construction workers have left the sites of South Australia's various infrastructure projects to go into 7-day lockdown. The state government deciding not to classify construction as an essential service, in contrast to previous lockdowns last year. It's a decision that has left the industry rattled.
The state government alone is putting $300 million each month into the economy through its infrastructure program. So even if you just remove that for a week, that's going to have a pretty big impact across the whole state.
The decision to exclude construction mirrors a similar call from New South Wales government to shut down their construction industry last weekend. Infrastructure Partnerships Australia saying the state government needs to explain the rationale behind its decision.
Construction is safe, and we know that from the Victorian lockdown where infrastructure construction didn't cease the whole way through. So it's really important that as government thinks about opening up again, it is aware and keeps front and centre in mind that construction can be done in a COVID-safe way.
With worksites such as the Augusta Highway duplication shut down, only time will tell what potential delays are in store for this and other projects in the Spencer Gulf.
Local government services across the Spencer Gulf have also been disrupted, with many temporarily closing for the lockdown period. In Whyalla, Cuddlefest events have also been forced to stop for the time being.
Balancing the requirements of Stage 5 restrictions and serving the community. Spencer Gulf councils today temporarily closing or limiting services. Whyalla's mayor hoping the situation doesn't escalate so things can reopen as scheduled.
Obviously, due to this lockdown, we've had to close a lot of the council services across the city to be compliant.
Diving experiences for the back end of this year's Cuddlefest also cancelled for now. She's asking her residents to be patient.
Everyone's got to be really patient. We've got to get through the next 7 days, and it is challenging, there's no doubt about it. And we really appreciate everyone in Whyalla following these lockdown guidelines.
In both Whyalla and Port Augusta, their childcare centres will be open for the children of essential workers, while curbside collection will continue as normal. Council facilities in Port Pirie and Port Lincoln will be closed until further notice. Meanwhile, the member for Giles says local constituents can contact his office directly.
They just need to phone the office or email the office, and we'll respond to all of that.
Ensuring everyone's needs are met during uncertain times. Mark Zita, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Port Augusta's Wharf Fest is the latest event on the scrap heap, with organisers cancelling this year's edition. The organisers say COVID regulations weren't the only challenge that resulted in its demise.
One of the most colourful events on the Port Augusta calendar cancelled. Organisers of Wharf Fest confirming that it will not be returning for 2021.
It's been a great event for Port Augusta. Apex clubs have run the events here since 1972, so it's got to be a very large event now. We're disappointed for the community that we can't do it.
Traditionally held in August, the organisers say the decision was based on more than the coronavirus situation. The Joy Balloof Bridge duplication is taking up land normally used for the event. 6 alternative sites were evaluated to host, but all of them were deemed unsuitable.
The issue then was we could go to an oval, but there's issues around that regarding power supply, around what can and can't go on ovals. It all just become too much for us.
In addition to the lack of power and water resources, organisers say they lacked the COVID-19 safe infrastructure required for the event to proceed.
It's disappointing for the small group that run that organisation. I think it's a combination of issues. The facility that they would normally use is now being used to build a new bridge, and also the COVID restrictions, particularly overnight, which have come in. It's probably a wise move for him to cancel it.
Edward McHale, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Stay with us, we have the rest of the day's news, with a man of the world visiting Port Lincoln. And Whyalla gives generously to the Royal Flying Doctors. To other news now, and 2 elderly people have been taken to hospital after a camper van rollover north of Cowell. Emergency services attended the scene on the Lincoln Highway at Midgee just before 3 o'clock yesterday afternoon. An ambulance spokesperson said 2 people were in shock but were otherwise okay. The incident coming after SAPOL warned caravan drivers to take care on the roads. A solo walker on a journey around the world has passed through Port Lincoln today. The 71-year-old set out on his mission from Germany 5 years ago, aiming to travel from country to country, one step at a time.
A man on a mission, walking around the earth on his own.
I am walking around the world. Just now I tried to walk around Australia. I started in Cairns, 2020, in February.
At the sprightly age of 71, German native Kuno Penner is into his 5th year of trekking around the globe. The German international, inspired by a desire to see the world.
Everybody dreams to see the world, like me. And I am lucky to be able to do it. When I walk, I see much more.
Kuno pulls a solar-assisted trolley, storing sleeping equipment and clothes, along with food and water. Travelling between 30 and 50 kilometres a day, Kuno finds it hard to name his favourite country.
I would say India.
He's showing no sign of slowing down.
And I'm walking now more than 36,000 kilometres.
Undertaking this adventure would be a challenge for many, but not for Kuno.
No, it's not difficult, it's easy, it's beautiful. This is for me like living in paradise.
Kuno is now heading towards Western Australia. Dylan Smith, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
The National Parks and Wildlife Service is urging residents in the Cleve Hills area to report sightings of feral goats and deer. Conservation ecologists say the animals are causing damage in the Yeldolkney Conservation Park and potentially to local farms in the region. People who spot the animals can report their sighting at feralscan.org.au or via the FeralScan app. Fallow and red deer are the species of deer known to be present on the Eyre Peninsula. The Whyalla community have opened their hearts and wallets to support a vital service helping patients with urgent medical care. The city's RFDS support group have raised their highest amount in years, with the money helping fund new aircraft.
Helping the Royal Flying Doctors Service stay in the air. Whyalla's RFDS support group handing over a cheque for more than $45,000 to the organisation. It's the biggest amount the group has raised, with the local community praised for their generosity.
We're very pleased with the donations, and I'd like to thank the various corporate businesses, private people, church groups, other public groups that have donated money.
It's a service the city is all too familiar with. An estimated 500 trips are made to the region each year to transport those in need of extra care to Adelaide.
At least once a day the plane's here to pick up someone on a transfer, so it's really important.
Having a donation as large as $45,500 goes a long way to help fund the purchase and fit out of our aircraft.
These funds join the millions of dollars received by the RFDS from across the country each year. Purchasing new aircraft, their top priority.
We don't receive any funding from the government to purchase our aircraft, so it is vitally important that we receive the funds from our support groups.
Ensuring all South Australians can access the best medical care. Mark Zita, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Stay with us after the break. We have all the latest news on our region's fuel prices. And we'll have the weather details with Alex Sykes. Hello again. While nobody will be hitting the open road this weekend, petrol prices continue to climb for essential workers. Here's Lachlan Etta with Fuel Watch.
If the lockdown's not enough of a reason to stay at home, local fuel prices are the highest they've been since the first lockdown. We'll take a look at unleaded first. Port Lincoln and Port Pirie up by 3 cents to $1.49 and $1.44 a litre respectively. A small jump in Port Augusta where you'll pay $1.52. $1.51 in Whyalla and $1.57 in Broken Hill, though many of the larger outlets are stubbornly sitting just below $1.60. Kadina is the place to be this week, with prices actually going down ever so slightly, $1.48 there. And not that any of us are likely to be in Adelaide anytime soon, but a litre of unleaded there will set you back $1.44. Diesel has gone up pretty much unanimously across the board. Whyalla is the only exception where things are unchanged at $1.47 a litre. Everywhere else has seen increases of anywhere up to 2 cents. Port Pirie the cheapest option at $1.42 a litre. Kadina not far behind at $1.44. $1.46 in Port Lincoln, $1.48 in Port Augusta, and Broken Hill drivers paying the most here too, $1.54 in the Silver City. Prices in the Big Smoke sitting bang on $1.45. Finally to Autogas, where unusually there's a fair bit of movement. Slight increases in Port Pirie, Kadina and Broken Hill, though nothing to carry on about. Port Lincoln, Whyalla and Port Augusta, prices almost set in stone there. They haven't changed for a number of weeks. Now remember that these prices are the regional averages and do not reflect any one particular outlet. And if you do spot unleaded diesel or Autogas cheaper, be sure to let us know on our Facebook page.
Time now for a look at tomorrow's weather, and it looks like the region is in for a wintry blast. With all the details, here's Alex Sykes.
That's right, John. We are in for a wintry blast. The Bureau is warning communities to rug up with a cold and wet day forecast for parts of South Australia tomorrow. It will be reasonably cold tonight, and when the rain moves in, the temperature will really struggle to rise on Thursday. And John, forecasters are not ruling out us seeing some snow flurries in the mid-north and Flinders districts either. I'll have more detail in just a moment. From 3 p.m. today, Port Lincoln was cloudy and 13. Port Pirie reached 14 and Kadina was 12 degrees. Looking further out across the region now, 13 for Port Augusta, Whyalla and Woodner. Sunny for Broken Hill, 11. Adelaide reached 12 degrees, as did Cleve. Clare got to 10 and Cooper Pedy was 14 degrees. Taking a look at the satellite image now, thick cloud covering South Australia with a trough is producing areas of rain in the west. Patchy cloud over the southeast in the wake of a front is triggering a few showers. Moving on to tomorrow's weather outlook now, and we'll start with the Gulf waters. Quite calm conditions forecast. Variable winds about 10 knots, seas below 1 metre, and south to southwesterly swell around 1 to 1.5 metres. Port Lincoln will be 13 degrees tomorrow. Cleve set to reach 12. Wood no rain and wind easing to top 15, while in Port Augusta both rain and windy and 15. Kadina to top a max of 12 degrees. Port Pirie 14, Clare and Broken Hill both set to top just 9 degrees. And rain continues on Friday except for in Cooper Pedy, mainly fine there and a max of 17 degrees. Temperatures set to be in the mid to high teens. A look at that all-important weekend forecast now. Windy for Cooper Pedy 18. On Saturday, partly cloudy for Broken Hill 15, showers across the rest of the region, temperatures again in the mid to high teens. Partly cloudy for Cooper Pedy and Broken Hill on Sunday, and those showers will continue for the rest of the region. So John, definitely don't ignore those orders from the Bureau to rug up tomorrow, but also for the rest of the week by the looks of it. And that's all the weather from me for tonight. Back to you.
Looks like a day for staying indoors. Thanks for that, Alex. And that's the local news this Wednesday evening. Thanks for joining us. I'll have updates later, and we will be back tomorrow at 7 p.m. Until then, enjoy your evening. Good night.